Judges Corner is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com and gatheringmagic.com. Support our show by visiting both websites. Now it's time for Judges Corner with Ricardo Conde.
Welcome, Magic players. This is another week of Judges Corner. I'm Ricardo Conde, the level 1 judge that you saw last week in Two-Headed Giant. This week we're going to go over REL. What is REL? Well, REL is rule enforcement levels that are considered at every level of event. The different levels of events are regular, competitive, and professional. And we're going to go ahead and break those down as far as everything that you'll need to know to make sure that you have a great time at your events. Regular RELs are FNMs, game days, pretty much anything that doesn't require a deck list. Now, at regular REL, we go over something that's considered the jar. Judging at regular REL is what the jar is. And what that stands for the players is it's time to have fun, it's time to learn, and we're happy that you're here. The reason for that is Magic is a very complicated game, so our regular REL is very fundamental for the players. Everybody makes mistakes. It's best to make them here so that way we can learn and grow from them. If a player has forgotten to take a required game action or accidentally flipping over a card, those are things that the jar protects the players from. Those are common errors that we like to fix. And that's pretty much all that we have to go over as far as regular. Now, in competitive, it's a little different. We jump into the water, feet get a little wet, rules are taken a little more into consideration. Competitive level events are such things as PTQs, GPTs, pretty much anywhere you're going to need a deck list. Now, when it comes to a competitive level event, you are evaluated more as a player, so things are taken a little more into consideration. Things are a lot more strict as far as the judge's viewpoint is. So penalties are issued a lot more. We always want to make sure that every player is given a fair game. So we always make sure that everything's taken care of. Jars applied a little less here. And when it comes down to it, we have certain penalties that we like to give so much to make sure that the event goes smoothly. And one of these is a game loss. So what constitutes a game loss? This is something that's always asked to me whenever I'm judging an event. So these are certain things that constitute a game loss. And that's all that we have that constitutes for a game loss. Now, before we jump into professional, one thing that we have to say is the difference between competitive and professional in a certain respect. When it comes to competitive, you can stop a match, so that way you can get a judge over in case you saw a mistake or something that should not have happened. Professional level events, you cannot. The reason why is you want to make sure that every player has a fair shot, and they are expected to know all the rules when it comes to professional. Professional level events include Day 2s at Grand Prix, Pro Tours, the World Championship, and the World Magic Cup. Now, at professional level events, because you are held to a higher expectation, you are expected to know all the rules and how they work. So, as far as professional REL, that's pretty much the main difference. So now, special treat for all of you players, we did an interview with Toby Elliott, a level 5 judge, so that way we can get his take on a couple things. And here it is.
So there are 3 RELs, regular, competitive, and professional. Competitive and professional, from a philosophy standpoint, are largely the same. We use professional for the really big events, Pro Tours, Grand Prix Day 2s, where we expect a really high standard of rules knowledge and understanding. Competitive is your PTQs, your GPTs, the sort of real tournaments that have actual, like real solid prizes and that are available from your local stores and everything else. We also use them for Grand Prix Day 1s, where we understand there's a very wide variety of Magic experience playing in the event. Regular REL is that step above your kitchen table. It's what FNMs are run at. It's your local Tuesday drafts. Any sort of non-Wizards associated store event is going to be run at regular REL. And that's designed to be a friendlier atmosphere, a more casual level of play. So the difference between regular and competitive is essentially one of atmosphere. Competitive, there's very much a goal. And while we want people to be sporting, we mostly care that they exhibit competitive behavior as opposed to uncompetitive behavior. So there are plays and there are attitudes and things you can do at competitive REL that would not be acceptable at your local friendly store. Certainly certain verbal trickery, trying to confuse your opponent, things you can say. Obviously, we'd like the game to be sporting and friendly at all levels, but we enforce it harder at regular REL. For regular REL, handling errors is done much more on a case-by-case basis by the judge. One of the goals of the program is consistency, which is why we have the IPG. It's so that when you go from one tournament to another tournament, you'll be able to get largely the same rulings and everything else. But the players who are moving from place to place are the competitive ones. They're going to competitive events, they're traveling to Grand Prix, they're doing the Pro Tour qualifier circuit. Their consistency is important. At regular REL, where you're just dealing with your local store judge and the group of players you regularly play with, the consistency isn't as important. What's important is being as fair as possible and fixing the game as best as possible, and the judge has a lot more latitude to just provide an answer that he feels is fairest for both players, rather than try to follow some formal policy. It's much, much more forgiving. What tends to happen is we just make it right. We fix the mana tapping that was wrong, we bring the creatures back, we might have to back up a little bit, but we just generally try to fix the situation so that both players are happy and we can keep playing. So if you're interested in more information on the various RELs, the best source for them is actually the IPG, the Infraction Procedure Guide. At the start of that, it defines the various RELs and what procedures are followed in those. For regular REL, there's a document called Judging at Regular, which it's only a 2-page document and boils down all of the sort of general philosophies of how regular is handled. We don't want a long document because the judges themselves may also be less invested. They're often the store owner or the guy behind the counter who happens to have read the rules once. So it's just a simple 2-page document that talks about the philosophy and general guidelines on how to handle the various types of problems that come up.